Well, kindergartners, we're going to keep working on these pattern cats. Many of you still need to finish making the patterns with the oil pastels. You're going to need to make sure that you're picking 2 colors for your patterns, just like I did here. I did pink and I chose purple, and then I made my pattern using 2 lines. So I did my curvy, and then I did my broken, then I did my curvy, and I made my legs match. So I did the same thing, curvy, broken, and I did purple, pink, purple. So make sure that you've got patterns on the legs, you've got patterns on the body. You can see that I did my patterns on my tail and on my neck. We're not gonna do any patterns on the face. If you have patterns on them, just make sure that the patterns do go across from one side of the tail to the other. Just like the wavy line goes from one side all the way to the other side. The patterns on the body go from one side all the way to the other side. Once you have these done, please do not put any patterns on the face. You can raise your hand and I will give you a brush. Try to put these in here nice and neatly so that none of them are on top of another color, and you can put those at the end of your table and I'll come and pick them up. When you are working, just be careful not, you can see I got a couple of fingerprints on it. Be careful not to rub your hand on it because it will smear those lines in color. This is our big painting project of the year, so you want to be responsible with these brushes. Couple of things that you need to think about. We are not splashing it. We're not gonna bang it like this. If you're doing those things, I am gonna need to take your brush back and you won't be allowed to paint until you're making better decisions. So you can see I'm not splashing it, I'm just rinsing it off. I'm wiping it off, and you should not be able to hear it. You can also see that I'm holding it like a pencil, just above this metal part right here. And I'm gonna dip my brush in, and I'm gonna pick a color. You can use the paints that are here, and you can use the paints that are here. The one color I don't want you to use today is black. Please don't use black, it makes your brush really dirty, and we're gonna be doing some color mixing on them, so please don't do black. I'm gonna start off with some yellow, and listen to my brush. I'm being so gentle, you cannot even hear it. I don't need a bunch of water in here, because it can make the paint get really soft and it can break. So here I'm gonna paint in my ears, and I'm being really careful not to get paint all over that oil pastel. When I'm done with a color, then I'm gonna rinse off my brush, and then I'm gonna pick a new color that I like. So I think that I'm gonna do, some blue, and I'm gonna take the blue from here, because this blue looks a little bit thin. It's getting a little bit worn out. Still being really, 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 really gentle. Then I'm gonna paint around my eyes. I don't wanna get paint on the eyes. You can see that I'm just kind of painting a line, then I pick up my brush. I paint a line, then I pick up my brush. Because then it's gonna make it so that the brush stays in a nice little point. I would never scrub my brush on the paper. This blue is pretty dark, so I want to rinse off my brush, and then I'm going to pick another color that I like. I would like to use some of this green. So I'm going to go around those edges, and I'm going to be careful to keep this paint clean. If you go into a color and you think, oh man, it's starting to mix, that means you got to go back and wash your brush off. So you can see I'm going around the mouth. Just paint a line, pick up your brush. And I just heard my brush make a sound. So that means I need to be more gentle. Go around that line. Now that I went around everything, I'm gonna paint a line, pick up my brush. Paint a line, pick up my brush. Until those spaces get filled in. Now, I'll do the other side gently. We said that there are not gonna be any patterns on the face. That's why I picked, this is one shape, so that's gonna get one color. This is one shape, so that's getting one color. This is one shape, so that's gonna get one color. Now I'm gonna move down here and I'm gonna start doing some patterns on the rest of my cat. So here, I'm gonna do a pattern with some blue. Paint that in. And then I'm gonna rinse off my brush. And then I think I'm gonna do some red. Actually, I wanna use this red. I wanna try this one. Because there's a bunch more of this red than the other red. So. And I've gotta be careful that these colors don't touch each other, because if they touch each other, then they'll start mixing. So I'm gonna rinse off my brush, wipe it off without banging it, shouldn't be able to hear a sound, and we'll paint this part in. So now I have a pattern of red, blue, red, blue. I'm gonna make this leg match. So we'll make that part blue. Then I'm gonna rinse off my brush, keep it clean. Get my red. And I'm so glad my brush is being so gentle and quiet. Then rinse off my brush. That red is pretty strong. If this is starting to fill up with water, that means that you need to use a little less water. And then, looks like I'm gonna do my red. I don't wanna do the same thing everywhere, so I do wanna make sure that I'm picking other colors too, so it's not all the same. So here I'm gonna do, I think, some orange on the body. We'll do orange here. And then I'm gonna rinse off my brush, and then I'm gonna do pink. Be careful that you kind of go around those zigzag lines. That can get a little bit tricky. And rinse off your brush. Get my orange. Please do not tell me that you're done painting today. If you tell me you're done, I'll probably ask you to slow down a little bit, and I probably will ask you to add an extra layer of paint. So I might say, well, please put a little bit more pink on the pink, or put more green on the green if it's dry. So sometimes painting is being patient to let things dry. I did have a student the other day do something like this. They did pink, orange, pink, red, blue, green. And that does not make a pattern. So you want to make sure that when you're painting that you're just picking two colors. And then on the face, you would just pick one color, since we're not one color for each shape, since we are not putting patterns on the face. These paws also don't really need pattern, so just paint those in. Okay. Now, I think I might keep that same color. We'll paint these spaces in. Okay. I have a little bit too much paint on my brush, that's why I gotta switch over here. And then do a little bit of yellow. Okay. We're gonna pretend that the neck is done. We are not gonna paint the space around it today. We'll talk about that next time, because I do want you to be able to do a color mix. If you do have extra time, and there are spots, like some of these have a few little white spots in there, I could come in and fix those. Looks like a little bit of blue got on my red right there, so let's fix that. And we can do what I was already talking about by adding another layer of yellow to the yellow, or I could rinse off my brush and put more green on the green, or put more orange on the orange, because these spaces have had a chance to dry. So if you do have extra time, I don't want you to tell me you're done. Just add an extra layer of paint to it, so then it becomes a little bit more bright. So let's be gentle with these brushes, make sure that they're not splashing or banging. or that if these paints have a little crack in them, that we're being extra gentle with those ones so they don't get broken. So this should be really fun. We just need to follow directions and be gentle with our paint brushes and be gentle with our paints. So let's have fun working on these.